Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. I thought I would talk a little bit about that recent drama with that acetate Ultimate Fallout cover from the C2. Um, I honestly don't know where to begin. There's like so much here. Now, granted, this is not the channel to come to when it comes to expert advice on variants and errors and all that stuff. I don't really dabble in that sort of thing. I dabble in comic book, all different types of comic book discussions, and what makes you a collector, what all those sort of things. And occasionally you'll see a haul from me, or maybe I'll do a flexing video or whatever. Yeah, comic flexing. That's the term I heard. When people show up their big books, it's flexing. It's a new term I was introduced to when it comes to collecting. But that all being said, I thought it would be something just I could still talk a little bit about this. Now, I gathered some information. I'm sure there are plenty of other channels out there and websites out there or social media platforms that talked about this to death and in depth. But I just figured I'd give you my take on it. And you could correct me if I got something wrong in the comments. So, from my understanding, is that this Ultimate Fallout variant was a Clayton Crane variant made almost about a year ago. There was, 3,000 of them? And 750 were put aside, and that acetate cover was put on for this particular con, right? So I think I'm right so far. So there was very limited amount of these books that people wanted, and they were selling them at the C2 this year, which was about a week ago now. It's August 2022, so it was a week ago. Forget the exact dates. And from what I gathered, there was a bunch of things that people were upset about. I'll try to cover a couple of them in brief, and I'll just give you my opinion on it for those that actually care. So, since it was so limited, it was supplied by a retailer. I think it's Black Flag Comics. This was the retailer that supplied this particular type of variant. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think I got the gist of it right. They supplied this variant. It's in limited numbers, and I believe the doors opened at the C2 at 10 a.m., and that's when they started selling these. But from what I understand, certain comic book influencers were able to cut in front of this line, which is a very limited amount of books, 750, were able to cut in front of this line over people that just, I guess, non-influencers, and were able to buy multiple copies, and naturally the book sold out very quickly. And these influencers, or I don't know if all of them, these influencers that were able to get these multiple copies immediately started selling them on various selling platforms. I think one in particular that was mentioned was Whatnot app or something to that effect. I don't use Whatnot. I should look into it. But that, I believe, is the gist of some of the controversy. That certain people, influencers, were able to get multiple copies of the book, but were able to get in front of the line, and influencers over collectors were able to get this highly sought out variant, and that pissed off a lot of people. That was my phone, sorry. a lot of people in the hobby, in the comic book collecting world. Am I right so far? Well, and the story was that Black Flag Comics, the reason why I brought that up was they were the retailer that was supplying these books. They allowed this to happen. They allowed people to buy multiple copies. And again, people were pissed off. All right, let me just stop there. Some of you may not agree with me, and that's fine. And, I don't take offense to it. But I've been in this hobby for a while, and I've been in other hobbies too. As you can always see, there's always that game collection behind me. And I don't really dabble in action figures, although I do have a few, but I'm not a really big collector. I like to collect the ones that I like, that look cool and all that stuff. But regardless of what it is, a hobby, and there are many other hobbies obviously out there, sports card collecting and so forth. But, no matter what, you're going to find people that are going to get pissed off over something, whether it's legitimate or not. Somebody's always going to be pissed off at something. Do I agree? If this is the case, which I've been hearing, that certain influencers were allowed to get this book over, let's say, collectors. They were shown preference, they were shown privilege over average collectors. Do I agree with that? No, I don't. Do I think there should have been a cap on how many books these influencers and others that were able to pick up when it comes to this particular issue? Yeah, I think there should have been a cap. I don't think you should have been able to buy a ton of them because it's so limited, But then again, though, I don't make the rules. Should Black Flag have allow that? I can't tell Black Flag what to do. They did what they felt, I guess, was made the best business sense. Whether it actually made the best business sense in the end or not, I don't know. But I don't think that it should have happened the way it did, but it did. And I think these things happen every now and then. And like I said earlier in this conversation, people are going to get pissed off no matter what, whether it's a legitimate reason, which I'm not saying this isn't legitimate, or not. Whenever you come to a hobby, whenever it comes to somebody that feels that they should have something for their collection, or they should be able to sell it the way other people sell it, so they can make amount of money, people will find reasons to get upset. So I don't know. I just think that's the case when it comes to that particular aspect of it. But like I said, I don't necessarily agree with, people should be cutting in front of line because they're influencers. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that sort of privilege and all that stuff. I think people, if you get there, first come, first serve. That's the way I see things. But I wasn't in charge. Let me see, I wrote down a couple other things. That's one of the issues. I know there are several issues with this. I don't know if I'm going to cover every single issue, but I want to just try to cover some of the major ones. And I think that was one of the first. And I wanted to cover a little bit of the background on this book. And you can see what the book is online. Or maybe I'll include a picture here, whatever. Then I think the other major issue, or at least the last issue that I think I'm going to talk about in this video, was the whole CGC controversy. And again, when it comes to grading, there's always going to be some sort of controversy, whether it's legitimate or not. I'm not saying that this isn't legitimate. I know some people, when they hear me talk this way, almost like I'm not really taking a side, they immediately think I'm, not going to agree that something was done incorrectly, or this shouldn't have happened. No, I'll give you my opinion on it in a moment. But I just wanted to just touch up on what this controversy is. So CGC graded some of these books. And from what I heard, from what I've seen, some of them got 9.9s and another one got maybe a 10 or something to that effect. But I think the controversy is that there is concern, or there is talk, that this is really just a bootleg comic. When you put the acetate cover, that clear plastic or whatever the hell material it is over the book, it was actually more of a bootleg, because I heard that Marvel didn't approve of that. So therefore, it kind of makes it illegitimate, the variant, some would say. That being said, CGC gave it a blue label. So how could CGC give a blue label to a book that may not necessarily be legitimate, since it wasn't necessarily approved by Marvel? Now, you could be watching this video a year from now, or maybe some sort of statement comes out from Marvel from now until then where they do approve it, so everything I say becomes obsolete. But just know that as of right now, the filming of this August 2022, I don't think there's been an official statement whether or not Marvel's going to legitimize this book because of that cover. But they did approve the original Clayton cover. So there is that mix-up. Well, they sort of did approve it, when it originally came out, but they just didn't approve when they put the acetate cover on it. I know, this is like so mind-boggling. It's just like so ridiculous. So much drama. Oh, God. Thank God I don't collect variants. Or I'm one of those people that have to be in line to get the latest variant. It's like, oh, God. Just talking about it's making my head hurt. but you know, sometimes some people really like variants and they're into this sort of stuff. I remember I did a video on variants about 5-6 years ago. I got a lot of heat out of it. How dare you say these things about variants? Okay, whatever. But it got a blue label, and the cover was not part of the acetate cover was not part of the 750 print run. It was 750 books taken out, and then this cover was stapled on top of it. So there are 4 staples. And people are saying, well, how could CGC, let alone give it a blue label, and then and then on top of that gives a book, or some of the books, either 9.9s or a 10. And I think there was a CGC response that I believe just defends their actions. So I think this made CGC seem a little, I don't know, it might have weakened CGC in the eyes of some people. And now let me give you my opinion on all this, about the controversy and the legitimate or versus illegitimate. I don't know about what's legitimate or illegitimate. Maybe it is illegitimate. But I think some people are concerned that when CGC gave it a blue label, they legitimized something that may be illegitimate. And they might have done that prematurely. Okay? And I get that. I get that. But I think at the end of the day, you know, CGC, sometimes we forget, CGC really is just a business, and they're just doing what they normally do. Now, granted, CGC does make mistakes. I don't want to come off like some sort of CGC fanboy or anti-CBCS or anti-anything else. I really don't want to come off that way. But they do make mistakes. I know they make mistakes. I think there are times, many times, and people maybe watching could tell me that some of the mistakes they made, where they miss restoration, where they mess up your book. You know, whenever there's human involvement, there's going to be human error. Okay, but I do think, despite all that, at the end of the day, they're a business, and they're going to do what they can to make money, to survive. Granted, sometimes when businesses take that route, it hurts their business. I get all that. But I think that sometimes these things happen. These things happen. Okay, yeah, they happen because of bad decisions or this or that, or the other thing, but they do happen. And for everybody to get all crazy over it, you know, these things happen every now and then. I remember, I think it was a couple years ago, what was it, at the New York Comic Con? Now, was it involving CGC, where somebody was flipping through a Superman #1, and he was flipping through the Superman #1 maybe a little too fast or a little too rough for some collector's taste? And of course, there's controversy and there's drama. But this goes back to what I said in the beginning of the video. There's always drama. There's always some type of drama. There's always a group that's out there looking for something to complain about. Again, sometimes the complaints are legitimate. But it's just, you got to take the good with the bad. You got to take the good with bad. Now, for those of you out there that really wanted to get your hands on this book, like, hey, Reap, I like variants. I know you don't like variants, but I like them, and that's fine. I totally get that. Why some people really like variants. I mean, I think it was ETA Nick that coined the term, or I think he was the one that coined the term. This is the variant age. You know, we had the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, the copper age, the modern age, and we're in the variant age. So a lot of people came into this hobby wanting variants, that were really into certain types of artists, or really into certain types of covers, variants. And a lot of people came into this hobby because of that, and may have been introduced to other things that has grown on them, like other books, like Bronze Age books, Silver Age books, Modern Age books, all that stuff. So I think these things are bound to happen. Again, in summation, do I think it was fair to let people cut in line? Influencers? No, I don't like that at all. I don't like privilege and stuff like that. Everyone should be treated the same. You should first come, first serve. That's just the way I see it. Should people have been able to buy multiple books of a book that had very limited amount? 750 is a very small amount. Absolutely not. One book per customer. Yeah, that's just the way I see it. Anyway, look, the New York Comic Con, I don't know how it is with San Diego Comic Con, but I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. But with New York Comic Con, they created a system where they wanted to have one ticket per person, to cut down on scalping, to cut down on selling a ticket for double the price. stuff that really turns off a lot of people, that hurts people, that really genuinely just want to be there. And other people, other businesses should follow suit. And I think that Black Flag should have done the same. They didn't. I can't tell you why. I wasn't there in the meeting, or if there was a meeting that decided that we're just going to let people buy whatever they want. Maybe it was the influencers that, again, here comes that privilege part. That, you're an influencer. You have a certain privilege that you could do whatever you want in our eyes. I don't agree with it, but that's what happened. And again, with the CGC thing, again, these things do happen. But, I think maybe it might have been a little premature to give it a blue label if there's still some doubt whether or not Marvel considers this legitimate. But I know there are videos out there or people out there that say it is absolutely legitimate, despite it has 4 staples in it. And these covers were added not on the press, but I guess another way. Not part of the original production, I should say. But what do you think about all this? I know this topic has probably been beaten to death, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. It was interesting for a moment to make a quick video on, and just to get some of my viewers, their feedback on the whole situation, and other things that I didn't bring up about it. I'd be interested in hearing from you. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and be safe.